And more anonymous sources, this time fueling reports that Team Trump plans to file a legal complaint against James Comey. But was Trump's attorney just foreshadowing all of this yesterday? Watch this.
We will leave it to the appropriate authorities to determine whether these leaks should be investigated along with all the others that are being investigated.
So what do you make of that? Joining me now on whether Trump's team has any sort of case against James Comey, John Banzhaf is a public interest law professor at George Washington University Law School, and J. Christian Adams, founder of the Election Law Center and former DOJ attorney. Gentlemen, welcome. Good to have you both here. John Banzhaf, let me start with you. Do you believe that the Trump legal team has a case against James Comey for what really stunned everyone yesterday was his admission that he decided when he woke up in the middle of the night one night that he was going to pass his FBI-created journal of what was transpiring in his work as the director over to the press himself?
The problem is that since he is no longer an employee of the federal government, even if he may and probably did violate non-disclosure agreements, protocols, customs, and so on at the Justice Department, there's not very much they can do to him. They can't fire him. All they can do is put him on a blacklist, not hire him again as an investigator. There is a statute, federal statute, which purports to criminalize stealing or purloining government records. The problems here are going to be the same thing I ran across many years ago in the DebateGate controversy. Number one, are these documents government records? But more importantly, if you simply make a copy of a record and give it to somebody, does that really count as stealing, purloining, or converting? I won on my case. I'm not sure he's going to win here.
J. Christian Adams, what do you think?
There's a lot more they can do. Even if he's not a government employee, the Office of Professional Responsibility at the DOJ and the Inspector General routinely make recommendations and file complaints with state bar agencies. So James Comey is a member of at least one bar association, perhaps more, and if the Office of Professional Responsibility issues a report, they can send it to the state bar and say they violated ethical rules. This is not complicated stuff, and frankly, the Trump team could make a complaint to Mr. Comey's bar associations, wherever he's a member of a bar, that he violated ethical obligations. So you don't have to wait for the political bureaucrats at the Office of Professional Responsibility to do that.
But what I'm hearing is that because he was no longer an employee when he did it, there is a limit to what could be brought against him here. So, J. Christian Adams, you're saying that the very worst that could happen in your mind to him would be a punishment by disbarring him, correct?
Yeah, well, tell a lawyer that that's not a big deal. You'll find out that
no,
it is a big deal.
It's a big deal, but it's nothing criminal, and there's no civil case against him. It sounds like you both agree to that.
And by the way, it's quite likely that Comey could make a very good living for the rest of his life without ever practicing law again, so it may not be a big deal. I filed half a dozen ethical complaints against lawyers with the disbarment associations, and often they don't come true.
All right, I want to put up one other thing. This came from a piece that Greg Jarrett wrote, and this is the Federal Records Act with regard to this, and get you to weigh in on this. It says, under the Federal Records Act and the FBI's own records management regulations, any document that is made in the course of business is the property not of the person who authored it, but the property of the U.S. government. So even though he was not working for the FBI anymore, he was when he wrote those documents. And did he have a right to pass them along to his friend who then gave them to the press? Quick answer. Let me start with you, John, first.
I think that he didn't have a right to do it. What he did was wrong. It probably violated his non-disclosure agreements. But whether or not it's criminal is very doubtful, because if you have the statute up on the screen, you see it says things like steal, purloin, convert. If I simply make a copy of a document and share it with somebody, I haven't stolen it. That's what happened in DebateGate. A copy of a document went over to the other side. The original remained where it was, and the argument was made, there was no theft. I was able to convince the judge otherwise, but it's dicey here. Make a great exam question for us law school professors.
All right, we're going to pass because we all paid attention. John Banzhaf, thank you very much. J. Christian Adams, good to see you today. Thank you.